Hare Krishna, everyone. Hare Krishna, Satya
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Priyanka. How are you? Haven't seen you for some time now.
Yeah, good, good. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
How are
Krishna.
you?
Okay, I'm good. I'm good. Getting ready to leave for the airport at around 10:45. I have a flight today.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. Office work. So
oh, good.
okay, so we will start with the class. We do not have all the participants here yet. We have about 6 of you right now, but it's okay. We will start. Let's begin with the Mangala Charan. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मायं ददाति स्वपदन्तिकम् वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीरुद्रुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगण रघुनाथं वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपदां सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्ता राधाकान्त नमस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वञ्चकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभयेव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रयाश्च भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्ति भवति नैष्टुकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः. Okay, so we will begin with our class. Anuj Prabhu is not here today. He's attending a deity welcoming ceremony. So some of the devotees, after practicing for a number of years, like Shamugam Prabhu and his wife Chitra Mataji, so they recently installed the deities in their home. And it was an amazing time because Guru Maharaj was also in Singapore, and therefore they invited Guru Maharaj to actually preside over the installation ceremony of Sri Sri Gauranitai. And therefore, Anuj Prabhu has gone to another devotee's house, and they are welcoming the Lord to their house in the form of Archa Vigraha or the Murtis. Okay, so he's gone there, and this Friday, the 14th, is the appearance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So there's going to be a very big celebration, and I'll be sending the invite over to you, or Anuj Prabhu will be sending the invite over to you. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a Channa avatar or a hidden incarnation. So Krishna knows everything, right? He's the supreme personality of Godhead. But one thing which he did not know was, the love of Radharani for him, right? So Radharani is an expansion, but he was not able to appreciate or to to fully understand the love of his devotee for him, right? And therefore, he came 500 years ago as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in order to relish this love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, in order to really understand, why are my devotees mad for me? Okay. So therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the most merciful incarnation. Okay. So this Friday and Saturday is holy. So today, before we get into our Bhagavatam discussion, is there any echo while you are listening to me, or is the sound okay?
Okay,
Okay.
Prabhu.
Yeah. All right. Very good. So you know, um, when Prabhupada went to New York, right, at the age of 69, and he reached New York. He was like shocked to see snow for the first time. He had never seen snow. One fine morning, he woke up and he saw snow everywhere. It was bitter cold. He was not used to it, being a Calcutta boy. And one fun day, he was just seated down on one of the bench near the train station. And one of the train, um, you know, conductor or driver approached him. He was a Turkish gentleman, and he asked him, you look like a Swamiji from India. Oh, who are you, and what are you doing over here? Are you belonging to a spiritual movement? So Prabhupada, at that point in time, he only had one disciple, and he had no temples at all. He came into the US with only a trunk full of Srimad Bhagavatam. In fact, he told everyone that Srimad Bhagavatam is going to the US and I'm just serving them, right? I'm just accompanying them and serving them. So he had one trunk full of Srimad Bhagavatam, whom he had, translated and provided the commentaries and purports. And he only had 40 rupees. Imagine going into USA with 40 rupees, and those rupees were not even recognized in India, in the US at that point in time. So there he was seated on the bench, and then this tram driver asked him, "Who are you? And which organization are you from?" And Prabhupada explained to him who he was. But more importantly, what Prabhupada said is, "I'm the founder of the Krishna consciousness movement. It's a very, very old movement, and I've just come to revive it, right, as per the instructions of my Guru Maharaj. We have more than 108 temples globally. And there are thousands of devotees who are practicing this, and every day there are thousands of books being distributed. But in actuality, if you look at it, there was nothing at that point in time. But the point I'm trying to make was Prabhupada, his heart had already reached that goal. All right? His heart had already reached that goal. And of course, along the way, there will be a lot of disturbances, there will be a lot of obstacles. But if our heart has reached that goal, then all these obstacles, they will all just be considerations. If not this way, another way. But my heart has already reached that goal. Right? It's so powerful. This power of clear intention, especially if it's directed towards Krishna. So today I would like all of you to just spend a few seconds to ask ourselves, have our hearts gone to a certain goal? Have our hearts reached a certain goal? Is there a clear intention in our hearts that we want to go back to Goloka Vrindavan? And along the way, there will be many, many obstacles, but those are all considerations. If not this, that. If not this, that. Do we have this clear intention of wanting to go back home, back to Godhead, and be reunited back with our spiritual father? Because in this material world, there's just so much of ups and downs. This is just a temporary dukhalayam asastuktam. We are just here temporarily. Our real abode is the spiritual world, Goloka Vrindavan, where we are supposed to be serving our Supreme Father. So the question for all of us today is, let's reflect on this. Have we set a clear goal? Are we 100% intentional in wanting to reach that? Yeah. So Satya Mataji, it's very important for us to have this goal. I'm struggling with it, and I hope all of you don't struggle with it. All of you should have this clear goal that this is where I want to go to. And the next question, once you have already set that goal, the next question is, how are you going to achieve that goal? Okay. How are we going to achieve that goal? So, all right. So, any, any, you know, reflections on this? So I'll just like to add another one more point. So there was a amazing conversation between Ramananda Rai, who was a governor of South India and Orissa at that same time, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? So Ramanand Rai was a great devotee of the Lord. And in this life, he just came as as a governor. And Mahaprabhu is a sannyas. He's the supreme personality of Godhead himself. So there's an amazing conversation which goes on. And Ramanand Rai went to Puri to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When he met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Mahaprabhu asked, have you gone to take darshan of Jagannath? And he says, no, right? He says no, because his whole heart was like already sold to Mahaprabhu. And he said an amazing statement. He says, the legs are like the chariot, and the heart is like the chariot driver. Wherever the heart will lead, one is bound to go. Right? So I'm just going to repeat. The legs are like the chariot, and the heart is like the chariot driver. Wherever the heart will lead, that's where my legs will go. Right? And therefore, for Ramananda Raya Prabhu, his heart was already at Mahaprabhu's lotus feet. And therefore, he felt that, I should just go to Mahaprabhu. Yes, I need to also follow the adhikar. Follow the right principles of going to Jagannath temple, etc. But my heart is with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at this time. So yeah, it's amazing. We need to nurture our heart such that we know where the goal is. All right. And therefore, once our heart is already centered towards a spiritual goal, then another analogy I would like to share with you is, once our heart is already at a spiritual goal and Paramatma is in our heart, and therefore you can actually feel that Paramatma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is actually, because you are clearly wanting this intention of having a spiritual goal to reach the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Paramatma in our hearts will actually embrace us and remove all the barriers and uplift us, his devotees, right? Transforming the relationship so that sometimes the Lord will even become subservient to the devotees' love. Can you believe it? Right? Because you have this clear intention and you are trying your very, very best. There will be lots of obstacles, etc. Because you have this spiritual goal, then Paramatma in the heart will also try to orchestrate it. All right? He will lift us up and therefore making the relationship so amazing, where he is also becoming subservient to our love. And that is real spiritual progress. Right? So while we, get into our daily life, our weekly life this week, think about this, have I been intentional in setting my spiritual goal? Okay, let's see who is here. Very good morning to all of you. Karuna Mataji, Dorothy Mataji, Krishan Prabhu, Hare Krishna, Lalita Mataji, Hare Krishna, Madhu Mataji, Hare Krishna, Priyanka Mataji, Hare Krishna, Rasija Mataji, Hare Krishna, Salini Mataji, Hare Krishna, Shefali, Hare Krishna, and Malti, Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for joining our Sunday satsang. So, Radhanath Swami Maharaj, he explains that if we want to attain the sea of our aspiration, We must persevere in our goal and never be discouraged by the inevitable obstacles that come in our path. All impediments are like rocks in the river of life, and we should flow with them and never give up. Okay. All right. So we will begin with our Bhagavatam class. So we have finished 27. Last week we did, um, we did a little bit of meditation where we started off, you know, essentially straightening up our posture, focusing on our breath. When you focus on your breath, it reduces stress, and you are also able to perceive all the distractions which are coming into our mind. And then we tried to center our mind to the lotus feet of the Lord, and we started chanting the Maha Mantra. Right? In chapter number 28, further it is described about the description of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The whole of Bhagavatam is about the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the description of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? So 28 goes deep into how the Lord looks like, what is the color of the Lord? What clothes does he wear? What is the jewelry of the Lord? Okay, all of that is explained, and we covered some of that last week. So the second text of the chapter number 28 of Canto number 3 explains that one should execute one's prescribed duties to the best of the ability. And this is exactly described in Bhagavad Gita also, right? And avoid performing duties which are not allotted to him. But does that mean that we cannot be, taking initiatives? Right? When Kapila Dev is explaining this to his mother, he's saying, you do your prescribed duty and try to avoid performing things which are not prescribed to you, which is somebody else's work. And Krishna explains this twice in the Bhagavad Gita. So now the question to all of us is that, but then, in today's world, we are asked to be proactive. So how do you reconcile what Bhagavatam is explaining and this whole concept of being proactive? Anyone would like to try? Hello, Hare Krishna. Okay, no problems. So prescribed duties simply means the work which is given to us based on our inclinations, our nature. All right. So if my inclination is, I just love administration, right? Um, I, I mean, I, I love to, teach, or I love to serve others in healthcare, right? So those are my inclination, and these inclinations are also dependent on our nature. All right, how we had orchestrated our last lives, how we have been brought up, etc. All right, so it is the past sanskar and how we have been brought up, the values which we have been inculcated into us, etc. So this prescribed duties is actually really based on our inclination, our nature, etc. Okay, let me try to mute. Okay, all good. Can hear me, right? Hare
Yes,
Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Okay, wonderful. Right. So that is our nature, right? So Lalita Mataji's nature is, she's very, very motherly. I've seen her coaching a student before, right? The student was going through a hard time in relating with the teacher, right? And she managed to bring about a mindset shift in the child as an educator. But tomorrow, if you ask her to take up arms and go and defend the country, all right, as a soldier, will she be able to do it? Her heart is not there. Her inclinations are not there. Her nature is not there too. All right? So that's the meaning of avoiding performing duties which are not allotted to us, because that is not our nature. Any questions on this? Okay. Then the second part.
Hare
Yes,
Krishna
yes.
Prabhuji. Yes, I
Yes.
have a doubt.
Yes.
Sometimes there could be situations in life where it seems like you have some patterns or which are negativities, which is sort of your samskara. And then you're meant to, and those patterns reveal that you're meant to change them in a certain way. So, and then would it be okay to perceive it as something that is meant to, so while you're not aligning to your nature, sorry, I have to put it in another way. Does it mean that this what you've just shared is only applicable to a good quality and not to a bad quality? So you would also have bad samskaras, right?
Yeah. You see, these sanskars, they come into us in this lifetime, but also as we grow up, all right, society will change a lot of some of our inclinations. There's, of course, the prevalent nature which we have, and then society will try to change us along the way, etc. Sometimes our prevalent nature is still very, very, very strong, but society is forcing us to do maybe an engineer's job or a doctor's job, etc. Our inclination is very, very different. All right. So sometimes the nurturing process is stronger than the sanskar which we bring into our life when we were born. All right. So this is like fluid, it changes. And sometimes when we get onto a job which we were, this is sometimes there's a lot of trial and error also, right? In today's world, there are a lot of 360-degree, not 360. There are a lot of assessments, right? Which allows you to find out what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, etc. They can be a good proxy for you to know what kind of career would be good for you, etc. But this also evolved with time. And therefore, when I started explaining this particular verse, I spoke about the nature which we are born with, which is based on how we have orchestrated our past life and the lives before that, and also the nurturing which actually happens. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Sorry if I was convoluting a little bit, but
Yeah.
anyway, okay.
Yeah.
So one should be satisfied with as much gain as one achieves by the grace of Lord. Right? So even Bhagavad Gita also explains that sometimes even over endeavoring is not going to change things, because that's also part of our karma, right? It's also part of our karma. How we had orchestrated our lives, the activities which we have done, etc. That will also decide, right? What I would receive this lifetime. Right? So goes back to our earlier discussion that we are just one third the equation. We can desire, and then the Lord will essentially award based on our karma, and then material nature under the jurisdiction of Goddess Durga takes over to execute it. Right? Okay. And one should worship the lotus feet of a spiritual master, right? For us to progress, we really need a guru to assist us, because the guru can actually remove all the nascence in our mind. So then this is something which we practiced last week, which is text number 9. A yogi should center the passage of vital air by breathing in the following manner. First, he should inhale very deeply, then hold the breath and finally exhale. Or reversing the process, the yogi can first exhale, then hold the breath outside and finally inhale. This is done so that the mind may become steady and free from external disturbances. You would have seen a lot of YouTube video which also explain this, that when you are stressed, All right. Or when you feel a little bit out of control, then what they explain to you, okay, this is well researched, is that you take 2 deep breaths. And after a few seconds again, it's supposed to calm you down, right? It works. Then text number 10 goes on to explain that the yogis who practice such breathing exercises are very soon freed from all mental disturbances. Just as gold, when put into fire and fanned with air, becomes free from all the impurities, right? Because the impurities will just dry off, all right, or just evaporate off. So when we engage in this pranayam, all right, the breathing exercises, or when you intentionally breathe and observe your breathing pattern before you're chanting, all right, it helps to uh, free us from our disturbances, okay, because you calm yourself down. Of course, during the process of chanting, etc., there will be a lot of disturbances which come to the mind. Don't be judgmental on that. It's okay. Let them come, but also tell yourself that, hey, mind, I'm chanting. Let me bring you back to focus on the chanting, to focus on the sound vibrations. Okay. So number 10, we are also reminded of, this these amazing prayers left by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left more than 8 verses. Okay. The current thinking is that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he left these 8 verses. Actually, it's much more than that. But these 8 verses are the most important verses. And it starts off with Cheto Darpana Marjanam Bhavamaha Davakni Nirvapanam, right? Which means that Darpan is mirror, right? So when we chant, right, or when we are intentional in our meditation process, by chanting the holy name of Krishna, one cleanses that all the dirt that has accumulated in the mind. And one can purify the mind through this breathing process and the chanting process, just as one can purify gold by putting it in fire and fanning it with a bellow. Okay? So remember the Shishtakstakam, all right? These 8 verses left by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It starts off with cleansing. The Maha mantra is so powerful, it can cleanse the mind of all the impurities. Then we move on to text number 11. By practicing the process of pranayam, one can eradicate the contaminations of the physiological condition. All right. And by concentrating the mind, one can become free from all sinful activities. Because if we can control the mind, then the senses are controlled, right? You will remember this amazing analogy from the Katha Upanishad. I'm going to be teaching this to a big group of corporates very, very soon. Corporate citizens, on the mind. It can be your best friend and the worst of enemy. And I'm going to use this analogy from the Katha Upanishad, which speaks about the chariot, the mind, the intelligence, etc. So more importantly, by practicing the process of pranayam, you can, and concentrate the mind, one can become free from sinful activities. Because once the mind is controlled, then what you are essentially doing is you become an observer to the mind. All right. You are not the mind anymore. But you, as a spirit soul, you become an observer to the mind. My mind is telling me to do this. But you know what? I have the intelligence to tell me that this is not correct. And therefore, I can actually become free from sinful activities. Okay? Get it?
Yes,
Okay?
Prabhuji.
Yeah. So when we can become aloof and observe the mind and the distractions which are disturbing the mind, then we can tell the mind, no, 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 you just calm down and just focus on the Maha Mantra, right? But if you look at the gopis, the gopis were like so attracted to Krishna. Their mind, their senses was totally sold to Krishna. But then Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Krishna is called Manohar, Man-ohar, one who has stolen the mind. All right. So, although you may say that the senses need to be controlled by the mind, but in the case of a devotee, in the case of pure devotees like the gopis who had nothing else, no other intentions than to serve the Supreme Lord, right? So their senses, all right, you may say that, their mind is also not controlled. Their senses are controlling them, but actually their senses and their mind are controlled by Manohar, who is Krishna. Okay, Man-ohar, the stealer of the mind. So by restraining the senses, one can become free from the material association. And by meditating on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one can become free from the three modes of material attachment. Of course, this is a process. Don't expect that today you start chanting and then you are able to control your mind, etc. No. All right. And even once you have control your mind, there will be times when the mind will dictate to you what you need to do. So ultimately, one has to meditate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead in order to be elevated to this transcendental position where one is no longer affected by the three modes of material nature. Okay. And, in the Bhagavad Gita, it's also explained that one who engages himself in unalloyed devotion or unmotivated devotion, uninterrupted devotion, at once becomes transcendental. Right? So then we move on. And this is the homework which I gave you 2 weeks ago or last week, last Saturday. I asked you to read this. So when the mind is perfectly purified by the practice of yoga, one can concentrate on the tip of the nose with half closed eyes and see the form of the Lord. And then how does the Lord look like? The clothes which the Lord wears, the Kastuba gem, and then, the attractive sylvan flowers. And then, he has a girdle and he stands on the lotus of the devotee's heart. And he's so beautiful and he's worshipped by all the inhabitants of all the planets. Okay? And that's the glory of the Lord. So, let's take a pause here to see how magnanimous Sanatan Dharma is, how magnanimous Krishna consciousness is. Because, as I've explained earlier on, even if you look at dictionaries, there are different gradations of dictionary, right? In primary school, the dictionary will be this thin. Secondary school will be this thick. And then when you go for postgraduate studies, etc., it could be a thesaurus plus a dictionary, which is really, right, voluminous. So the essence is still there in that small little dictionary. But as you progress, right, it becomes bigger and bigger. And that's what Sanatan Dharma is, right? The other dharmas do not explain all of this. They do not explain who actually God is. Sometimes they don't even explain to you as a spirit soul, what is your constitutional position. But we are so fortunate to be able to relish this, right? We are so fortunate to be relish not just the tattva or the transcendental truth, but in Krishna consciousness, we are also able to relish the rasas, right? The rasa, right? Or the transcendental relationship between a devotee and the Lord. Okay? Just like, you have Madhurya Ras between Radharani, the gopis, and Krishna. Then you have Vatsalya Ras, right? Between the parents of Krishna and Krishna, right? And then you have, the ras between the cowherd boys and and Krishna, right? So actually, let me just digress a little bit. It's so amazing because the devotion of the gopis is just a different world altogether. All right, very hard for us to understand this, and the devotion or the pure love of the gopas is also a different world altogether. All right, and they actually do not see the Lord as God. They do not see Krishna as God. They see him as their friend, their best friend, right? So there was once when all of them went early in the morning, right, to bring their cows out for grazing, and then they were playing games, right? They were sharing their lunch. While they were playing games, what happened? Krishna lost to the Gopas. And therefore, the Gopas said that since you lost, you have to carry us. You have to carry one by one back home towards the evening. And Krishna says, no, 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 how can I do this? Then the Gopas say, why not? You are our friend. You should carry us back. You lost the game. And Krishna says, no, I cannot because I'm Nanda Maharaj's son. And then the Gopas says, what Nanda Maharaj's son? Your father just has a few extra cows compared to our father. What makes you so big? He says, you don't understand. All right, I'm Nanda Maharaj's son, right? I'm the king of this village, the son of the king of the village, right? So how can I be just carrying you guys? He says, no, your father just has got a few extra properties compared to all of us. All right, and your father doesn't treat us as a separate citizen altogether. So you have to carry us back. And then Krishna didn't know what to say. Krishna says, but I'm God. And then all the Gopas were, what is he saying now? You are God? Come on, get back to your senses. He says, no, I am God. All right. And then in one puff, he brought them to Goloka Vrindavan. All right. And then there they saw that Krishna, all right, was worshipped. Everyone was doing arti to him, was serving him, etc. And these Gopas were like shocked. What has happened to our Krishna? And then when they saw him, they started singing their regular Brajavasi bhajan, or not even bhajan, their regular uh, Brajavasi, song which they used to sing during lunch, etc. Jai Jai Nanda Yashoda Dulal Girivaradari Gopal. So they were singing Gopal, Gopal, right? They were like shocked to see their friend, and at the same time, they were thinking, wow, he's like an actor, right? It's a big play going on, and therefore they started to cheer him up by singing this amazing Brajavasi village bad or song describing Krishna. And the Vaikuntha Vasis, all right, the other servants of Krishna, they were like shocked. Over here, we only speak Sanskrit. What's all this Brajavasi songs you all have brought over here? All right. And then Krishna explained to them that is awe and reverence. All right. I'm God in the office for all of you, but I'm God at home as a friend with all these Gopas. And then you know what the Gopas told him? That's the rasa. All right. That's the rasa, which is that amazing transcendental relationship. And the Gopas told him, okay, Krishna, enough of your drama. Let's go back. Today we give you chance, but tomorrow if you lose the game, you will have to carry us back. That is our Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is only revealed to his devotees. And the Lord is hungry for this kind of reciprocation. You don't find this in the other dharmas. And this is really the highest form of dharma. And therefore, we as devotees, we need to understand that devotional service is about not having any motivation in the worship of Krishna. We just love Krishna for who he is, just like the Gopas, right? Just like the Gopis. There was once Krishna was so sick, having a bad headache, right? And then uh, Narada Muni came and asked him, like, you have been to all the doctors, all the Veds have tried to treat you, but your headache is so bad. And then Krishna says, I know the cure. You just need to go to my devotees and ask my devotees, please give me the dust of their lotus feet and apply that dust onto my head. Just a minute. Just apply that dust onto my head and my headache will get cured. So Narada Muni then went from place to place asking who will give their their dust from their feet so that I can collect this and put it on Krishna's forehead, because that is going to be the only panacea or the cure. He went to all the sadhus, the sages. No one agreed. He went to the devatas. None of them agreed. They said, you want us to go to the Netherlands? You want us to go to the worst of the hellish planets? How can we just give our dust to the Supreme Lord? And then finally, Narada Muni went to the Gopis. And the Gopis spontaneously, without even thinking of Tattva, they said, if the dust of our feet can cure Kanha's headache, let us go to the worst of the hellish planets. We don't care. But we just don't want him to suffer with that headache anymore. That was the love of the Gopis. Okay. So going back to the beginning of our class, can we have that intention? Of course, it's not going to be straightforward today, but in time to come, our intention, our heart should already be there where we are spontaneously wanting to serve the Lord. Okay? And then the rest of the entire approach is just a consideration. I'll take a pause here to see if anyone would like to say anything. I spoke too much, by the way. Anyone? Did you like this pastime? Are you all there? Or have you all merged into the transcendental realization?
Yes, we are here, Prabhuji.
Okay. You like the pastime, Malti Mataji?
Yes, definitely, Prabhuji.
Okay. All right. So if you open the chapters of Bhagavatam, chapter 10, Canto 10, all these amazing pastimes are there. Okay. So thus, always merged in devotional service, the yogi visualizes the Lord standing, moving, lying down, and sitting in the chambers of his heart. For the pastimes of the Supreme Lord are always beautiful and attractive. And in fixing his mind on the eternal form of the Lord, the yogi should not take a collective view of all the limbs, but should fix the mind on each individual limb of the Lord. Even when you go to the mandir, right, when you are seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, start with the feet of the Lord and then you go up. Even when you are meditating, when you are chanting, etc., start with the lotus feet of the Lord. Meditate that you are applying chandan with tulsi leaves on the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. Okay? Then slowly you go up. The devotee should first concentrate his mind on the lotus feet, which are adorned with the marks of the thunderbolt, the goad. Right? Goad is, what do you call that? The elephant, the mahouts, they carry that goad to bring the elephant direction left, right. They'll know where to hit it, no? Right? Similarly, the Lord's lotus feet is like a goad also, can direct us to where we should be focused on. The banner, a lotus, right? And then the lotus feet of the Lord also, we did a class on this recently. So the thunderbolt, right? So Acharya say that there's a thunderbolt sign on the Lord's lotus feet, because meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord, it acts like a thunderbolt on the mountain of dirt in the mind of the yogi. All right. So when the thunderbolt, like, last week, uh, you know, the flag in one of the temples in Taiping in Malaysia, in one of the gurudwaras, it was hit by a thunderbolt. All right. Therefore, it was damaged. So similarly, the thunderbolt, okay, the thunderbolt lotus feet of the Lord, the thunderbolt like lotus feet of the Lord can destroy the entire mountain of dirt in the minds of the yogi. If a yogi wants to shatter the mountain of dirt in the mind, the yogi should concentrate on the lotus feet of the Lord, or the yogini should concentrate on the lotus feet of the Lord, and not imagine something which is void or impersonal. Some practices, right, by other spiritual movements, they said, oh, you just focus on the void. All right. In Krishna consciousness, we believe focus on the supreme personality of Godhead, right? Because the entire dirt has been accumulated like a solid mountain, and one should meditate on the lotus feet for a long time. Okay, we move on. Then the yogi should fix his heart, the activities of Lakshmi Devi, the goddess of fortune, who is worshipped by all the devatas and is the mother of the supreme person Brahma. She can always be found massaging the legs and thighs of the transcendental Lord. Okay? So Brahma is the appointed Lord of the universe. Okay? Right? He's appointed as the secondary creator. His father is Garbhodakshayi Vishnu. Remember? We spoke about this. And Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, is therefore automatically Brahmaji's mother. And Lakshmi ji is worshipped by all the devatas and all the inhabitants of all the planets also. So by following the course, the yogi gradually develops pure love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So you see, so scientific, Kapil Dev is explaining to his mother. In the course of his progress in devotional service, some of you all may already be experiencing this. Huh? You'll see your hairs, right? It will give you goosebumps, right? Sometimes when you listen to a kirtan or when you are in so much of bhav, you will see your hair standing on ends through excessive joy, right? Or sometimes you will start crying, right? I remember there was this devotee. I've actually seen two of my Bhagavad Gita participants, our students. When we were discussing the pastimes of the Lord in the class in Lakshminarayan temple, those two were actually crying. One of them is in this class, but I don't want to embarrass her. And the other one is a Prabhu. And, it's amazing devotee, right? So sometimes we get into this bhav. So the hair on our body will stand erect because of that excessive joy, the transcendental joy. And sometimes you become bathed in streams of tears because of the intense love. And gradually, even the mind, which the person used as a means to attract the Lord, as one attracts a fish to a hook, it becomes withdrawn from all the material activities. Okay. I saw a chat coming in. Let me just take a pause. Okay. Krishan Prabhu, all okay? Krishan Prabhu, are you there? Okay, I think he's coming back in shortly. All right, so now we move on to, so that's the end of chapter number 28. Okay. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Now we move on to chapter number 29, where Kapil Dev is now explaining to the mother that, even devotional service can be influenced by the three modes of material nature. Believe it or not, even devotional service can be influenced by the three modes of material nature. They can therefore be classified as either in the mode of goodness, mode of passion, or mode of ignorance. Okay? It's still bhakti, it's still devotional service, but it's not pure bhakti or shuddha bhakti, and may not directly lead us to Krishna Prem. Okay? So earlier on, we spoke about, the gopis. We spoke about the gopas. That love for Krishna is so spontaneous, they don't even, want to know whether he's God or not, but I just love you for who you are. Right? Just like a lover and the two lovers. They just love each other for that person. Right? Uh, Maybe not even for any reason. Maybe there are millions of reasons and that person cannot articulate what the real reason is. Right? That's exactly the gopis and the gopas. Even the peacock in Vrindavan forest, even the deer. You'll be shocked if I tell you, what's the service of the deer in Vrindavan during Krishna's pastimes? Of course, Krishna is still in Vrindavan. The service of the deer is just to see Krishna. Anyone would like to have that service of just watching the Lord? That's the service, and the Lord also watches. Right? So even the flute is seen as a great devotee of the Lord. So once the gopis were very angry, why is it that Krishna is so attracted to you, oh flute? And the flute explained that, you do not know how much of austerities I've gone through just to get the attention of Krishna. All right. Right. First, I, have to go downstream from my parents. Right. And then be chucked at one deserted place from where the rest of my siblings are. Right. So essentially the shoot of the bamboo. All right. It moves away from its parents, and then, it just gets flown into the river or in empty water bodies, and then it goes to a different location. And then I do so much of tapasya, I stand on 1 feet. All right. And then I only drink water. And I'm just standing and meditating on the Lord this whole life. And then suddenly someone comes and chops me off. See how much of tapasya I go through. And then once, Kishan Prabhu, I can hear you now.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. I think there was something issue with my mic. I wanted to speak that time when you were asking some inputs, but
Sure,
then I realized it was not working. So I had to disconnect my Bluetooth and re-log in again. Thank you very much.
No problem, Prabhu. So let's hear from you.
No, I lost the thought.
Chain of thought. Okay, no problem. Yeah, if it comes back. Sure. Right. So we were speaking about, the bamboo. Right. So then the bamboo said, and all out of a sudden someone just cuts me off and, takes me away from the rest of my new family members. And then that person takes me and throws me into water, brings me out, throws me into water, brings me out. He's like seasoning me. And then he puts me out in the scorching heat to dry me. And then you know what? And then they take a red hot iron ore and they drill through 9 holes on me. And finally, right, I'm offered to Krishna. So, oh gopis, can you imagine how much of austerities I've gone through? And now this is my service towards Krishna. Amazing, isn't it? Okay. So, in the pastimes of Krishna, everyone has a backstory. And therefore, each of us also have a backstory, right? But at the same time, if we have that clear intention in our heart of wanting to one fine day, right, go back to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whatever difficulties will come, they will all be just considerations. Kishan Prabhu,
Yes, sir.
the thought came back?
Can we go to the previous slide you were discussing? I think I had a thought on that slide.
Okay, no problem. I'll just do a time check, Prabhuji, 1 minute, yeah, because I've got a flight to catch. Okay, so we have time.
Yeah, this one.
Okay, please carry on.
So, what you were mentioning is that mind, yoga, practice, purification, and everything happens. So, what I realize in the current world, the way yoga is being promoted is promoted just for the means there are two or three or four different types of variations of how the yoga is being conducted. And then when you were saying that there has to be twice breathing to go up and calm your mind, I don't think the purpose of that yoga is being communicated how the yoga is being really being practiced in the current world. So
Exactly.
so what happens is some people, this is my experience, some people only use few exercises as yoga, some people put meditation as part of yoga, some people say that but the union of the mind or union of the mind with the breath and the breath towards the Lord, that portion nobody's connecting. So that's one thing I felt when you were speaking about double breath and then speak. So that was something which came to me. And why all these people are presenting yoga in a different form. Okay. And
Okay.
second thought also came that when you mentioned that Chaitanya Prabhuji mentioned, no, not Chaitanya Prabhuji, the
Mahaprabhu.
Mahaprabhu, when he went to US and he didn't have money and he
No,
already had
that's
a vision.
Prabhupada. That's Srila
Mahaprabhu,
Prabhupada.
Srila Prabhupada. So I think the whole thing came in because he already had a vision. And not everybody is gifted to have that kind of vision for anything. So some people struggle, what is my vision for next 10 years, 5 years, or even 1 year? So to have that vision and that clarity and the message from the God to say that, oh, this is what you need to do and this is a purpose for you, is itself an overwhelming process for him. And that's how he's able to visualize and that's how he's able to deliver to, regardless of who was the recipient. So there are two thoughts which came to me.
Okay, let's look at the first question. Thank you very much for your question, or not even a question, for your realization. Yes, Prabhu, like, as we explained in last week's class, in the yoga centers, etc., what do? They do a little bit of pranayam, they do a little bit of asana, and they say that is the complete yoga system. And our work is to go and, basically bring about a mindset shift in all of these yoga teachers, to explain to them the word yoga itself means the reunion, all right, of the soul and with the spirit soul, is the reconnection. And this is the entire full process. If you want to go through, what you are actually teaching is just 2 out of that 8 process, right? So we explained this also. And and the only spiritual thing which they will do is they'll begin with Om, and then with the namaskaram on the heart. That's about it. But there's no explanation behind all of this. Yeah. And that's the reason why one of our students, Hui Mataji, right, she came 7 years ago for our classes in Lakshminarayan Temple, and she's now chanting 16 rounds. You will have seen her in Gita Reading Society. So she then took up this yoga practice, and now she is a qualified yoga teacher. She has been conducting this for the last 7 years now. And what she does is then she is bringing kirtan, mahamantra practice meditation on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore making it a solid, holistic 8-stage process. All right. And then bringing Bhakti Yoga into it too. So she's trying her very best. In fact, last Friday was our monthly kirtan, which we have with all the yoga students. And then, we don't do it in the temple, we do it in a yoga studio. We have about 70 students coming together. Last Saturday, I gave them a class. Last Thursday. So, we are engaging with them. On your second question, but of course, this is just scratching the surface. A lot more can be done. On your second question about us not having a purpose or not being able to connect our heart towards a vision, how intentional are you in finding out your purpose? That is something which we need to ask ourselves. If you are intentional about finding out your purpose, then Krishna will also give you that guidance. Paramatma in your heart will actually give you that guidance also, Prabhuji. So there are a lot of devotees who are very clear on what their intentions are. Of course, you have this Japanese concept of ikigai, all right? And then, at Harvard Business School, we also teach a little bit about how do you find your purpose. I can actually teach that concept in one of the classes and, of course, spiritualize it. I used it on myself and I sort of know what my purpose is. Still working on it still. All right. So, yes, it's a process. You cannot know immediately what your purpose is. So I was once interviewing, I was on the board of, the interview board in Malaysia for one of the top banks. And there was this candidate who came in and, she was like already shortlisted, and that was for her, right? She was asking for X dollars in terms of her package. And on that day itself, we asked her, like, why? You are like asking 1.5 times more than what the other candidates are asking for. And she says, I'm very clear about my purpose. She says, I'm just going to be here. I'll give 100% of my soul, my heart to this job. But I have a very, very clear purpose. Because once I complete this task in 5 years, I want to be serving my mosque by cooking and serving all the devotees who come to the mosque. And I want to start saving enough to do that service. She was so clear on her purpose, right? And then I was inspired, and therefore I told the rest of the interviewers, hey, give it to her, give the job to her. Looks like my internet is not very stable. But anyway, actually, I don't know why it's not stable. There's nobody in the house. My wife is not here. My children are not here. My helper is also not here. It's just me. I don't know why the system says internet is not stable. So, Prabhu, it's a process, okay? All right, so let's move on. Okay, so are you surprised that even devotional service can be classified as sattva, rajas, and tamas? Anyone? Hey, why is my screen not showing? Okay, it's coming. Yes, Ravindra Prabhu, please unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Sorry,
Krishna.
I lost my voice now.
Oh.
I came across in Chaitanya Charitamrita. You were talking about Kapila Dev was talking about 3 types of based on tamas, rajas, and sattva. But also in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, I kind of look at the devotional service in 3 kinds. Bhakti, which is normal, ordinary service, devotional service. Then, of course, we're talking about Sudha Bhakti, and the other one is Vida Bhakti, mixed devotional service, which I feel I'm trying to strive towards. then I thought that maybe this could also be seen as a process where one is getting the initial taste of what bhakti is, with association with the sadhus, with the sangha, with the association of devotees. Slowly, this taste developed with more association, and more time is spent, and then you are already dovetailing a lot of your activities into devotional service. But yet, in the back of your mind, you have other worldly things to do. So maybe that could be seen as mixed. But to have pure devotional service, or that is, of course, what we are aiming for. So I'm slowly moving towards these kinds of service, and I see them as, to me, as a process, a kind of stage by stage by stage devotional service, and I kind of as we grow older, I find that this is becoming more and more, and as we go more and more affirm in our faith. This has become more and more true for me, I guess. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Yeah. So this is you see, there are many, many different types of nomenclature when it comes to devotional service. So in one nomenclature, you look at devotional service, which is somehow subjected to the three modes of material nature. In another nomenclature, you look at the process of devotional service. So what you are describing is the second nomenclature, which is the process of devotional service. It starts with sadhana bhakti. So sadhana bhakti is something which all of us are aspiring for, already doing in some way, which is waking up in the morning, doing your sadhana, chanting your rounds, doing the arti service, reading the books, etc. So that is sadhana, okay, which is a process you follow. And then along the way, your purity will be fortified. Along the way, you will realize that, hey, actually, I don't have to, indulge, or I do not have to engage in this process anymore, because it is automatic. It is spontaneous, right? And that's where Raganuga Bhakti comes in, where you are not following the rules and regulations anymore. You are just spontaneously in love with Krishna. All right. You do not have to be told. It's just in your veins. All right. So sadhana bhakti and then Raganuga Bhakti. All right. And in between, you have the Mishra platform or the mixed platform. Okay. So that's one way of looking at bhakti. Another way of looking at bhakti is, it being subjected to the three modes of material nature. Thank you very much for bringing that point up, Prabhuji. So, sometimes when we go to a temple, when someone is organizing a program or giving a charity, etc., then they would like to put, on a big banner, this is sponsored by so and so, and they insist on that. All right. That is devotional service, yes, but in the mode of passion. All right. And then you will have sometimes, devotees engaging in devotional service, but in a very grumpy, grungy mood. All right. Not inspired to do it, with a lot of laziness, etc., like being forced to do it. That is in the mode of tamas or inertia. And then you will have the devotees who do it in sattva, which is with all cleanliness, following the rules and regulations. But then pure bhakti would be when you do it in sattva, but it's with spontaneous love for Krishna. Okay. That's the three gradations plus the pure bhakti. So now we will go deeper into the three modes of devotion, how the three modes actually affects devotion. Okay. So the characteristics of bhakti in the mode of ignorance, this is explained by Kapila Dev, explained by Krishna to Devahuti Mata. All right. So Krishna knows, Krishna knows because he's all knowing. The only thing he didn't know was Krishna knows everything. There's one thing he did not know. What was that? We explained in this class today.
We explained at the starting, Prabhuji, the love, brother,
exactly. Exactly. That is one thing which he didn't know, and therefore he had to come and be in the form of a devotee to explain, to experience this. Okay. So Krishna knows even this. People approach me in these three modes of material, in these three modes. So the characteristics of the mode of ignorance is the worship is conducted with a sense of aggression, sometimes intention to harm others. Actually, I think I wrote wrongly. The sense of pride is not really ignorance, it's passion. Okay. So practitioners in this category may engage in devotional as well, but often with impure intentions, frequently driven by sometimes jealousy, animosity, right? So you have figures like Hiranyakasipu, Ravan, right? Ravan was a great Shiva worshipper. Hiranyakasipu felt, he was God himself. But the amazing thing about Hiranyakasipu is, of course, he's, Jaya and Vijaya, firstly. And secondly, he was always thinking of Vishnu. He was always thinking of Vishnu in his mind. But that is really not devotional service per se, because it is not for the pleasure of the Lord. It did not give pleasure in that sense to the Lord. All right. He was thinking of the Lord always, but not in the mood of providing pleasure to the Lord. Okay. So Prabhupada clarifies that, devotion is not genuine bhakti, this kind of devotion, but it's a distorted version of, religious observances. Right? Sometimes people even pray to God for the downfall of their adversaries. Okay. Reflecting a tainting of true devotion. Yeah. So one who approaches the Supreme Lord to render devotional service, but who is proud of his personality, envious of others, vengeful, always in anger, that's not pure. Right? And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur advises that a Vaishnava who is not of good character should be avoided. Okay. A real Vaishnava is one who has taken the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the ultimate goal of life. But if one is not pure and still has motives, then he is not a Vaishnava of the first order of good character. So then how do you approach those Vaishnavas who are not of that good character? Don't be judgmental. Just pay obeisances. Okay? Pay obeisances to them because they have accepted the Lord, and then do not keep company with them. All right? And then you have, bhakti in the mode of passion. Rajasika bhakti, which is, it's conducted for some personal benefit, for influence, for recognition, for acquiring wealth. And in this particular classification, Krishna is a means to an end rather than a goal in itself. Okay. So it's okay. Nothing wrong. I mean, of course, it's not the ideal. It's all right. Okay, it starts like this now. It starts with either passion or ignorance. It's okay. As you keep on doing it, and with the association of pure devotees, we can correct ourselves. At least we have started, no? At least we're not going to some mundane human and focusing our devotion to a mundane human. At least we are focusing on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. At least a good starting point. Okay. So, yeah, it's all right. Even Dhruva Maharaj, right? He was saying, he was so angry with his stepmother and father. Father didn't allow him to sit on his lap, and that lap was reserved for his stepbrother. And he says, and the stepmother told him that you need to be born from my womb in your next life in order to be given this privilege. He was so angry. All right. He was so angry, so full of passion. And he vowed that I will have a kingdom bigger than my father, even bigger than my grandfather Brahmaji. And then Narada Muni came and consoled him. And yeah. So then he started, and Narada Muni told him, it's okay, you just worship Krishna. Hari. All right. So he went to Mathura, from the sand of, or the clay, or the mud from the Yamuna, he built a figurine of Vishnu, a deity of Vishnu, and he started worshipping. And it was like full of passion. I want you to help me, oh Lord, because I want a kingdom greater than what my father and my grandfather has. Greater than my father, because I'm so angry with them. All right. But in the process of worshipping and worshipping and worshipping and doing so much of austerities, right, the Lord himself came and blessed him. Small little 5-year-old boy didn't know what to say when he saw the Lord. The Lord kept his conch on Dhruva's head, and then, amazing celestial prayers came from Dhruva's mouth. And then towards the end, he says, I was running after these broken pieces of glass, right? Wanting this, wanting that. When actually, through this process of devotion, I got the biggest diamond, which is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the darshan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it's okay. And remember, it doesn't give us a right to be judgmental on anyone's bhakti, not even our children, nor our spouse's bhakti. Okay? Each one have our own journey. We just focus on putting the oxygen mask on ourselves. Okay, Hare Krishna. So I'll just do the last one, which is bhakti in the mode of goodness. Right? When a devotee worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead and offers the results of his activities in order to free himself from the inebrities of fruitive activities, the devotion is in the form of goodness. Okay? So essentially, when a devotee worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead and offers the results of his activities. And why does he offer the results of his activities? Because he doesn't want to be intoxicated by these results. Okay? He doesn't want to get into these intoxicating effects of the results, which will drown him further into the material world. Then, his devotion is in the mode of goodness. Karma arpanam, which is duties performed for the satisfaction of the Lord. So the worship is done with piety, with discipline, and with spiritual knowledge. Devotee in this mode, they follow the Vedic scriptures, the regulated sadhana bhakti. All right, it's all amazing. But as what Ravi Prabhu says, bring it one notch higher where the devotion is just spontaneous. Okay? Because sometimes in the mode of goodness, there's also this, there's this, I am the doer, the subtle ego. That sense of that subtle ego may still be there. All right? But when we fully surrender, then that is pure bhakti. Okay? Actually, the scriptures go even deep, If you look at the 9 processes of bhakti, which begins with hearing, chanting, remembering the Lord, worshipping, offering prayers, rendering service, and surrendering everything, each of these can be divided into modes of goodness, passion, ignorance. Each of these 9. Okay. So, yeah. And then we finally go to Shuddha Bhakti. But Shuddha Bhakti, we can actually discuss this next week. I'll stop sharing and see if you have any questions. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I have a
Yes.
question.
Yes, Mataji. So nice to see you with Tilak. Haribol.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, it's special, yeah. So yesterday's class, there was this sharing of from Bhagavad Gita, where the qualities that are coming, that are good or bad, also comes from Krishna.
Yes.
So I immediately got a questioning as to what is the reason that a bad quality would come from Krishna. Then I quickly thought, okay, with reference to Duryodhana, how even his qualities are important for devotees. For when you look at Mahabharata and how the whole thing transpired, then you sort of understand the importance of Duryodhana and the whole gamut of things. And then now that what you shared, that association with, not association, one, if you come across a bad Vaishnava or a bad, sorry, not a bad Vaishnava, there's no bad Vaishnava, but a bad,
not the ideal.
Sorry,
not
I
the
forgot
ideal.
not the ideal person, then that should be avoided, right? So, but sometimes you would have some people like this in your daily circle of influence.
Yeah.
And there is no way to avoid them. Then how do you see these two aspects together was something that I was wondering.
Yeah. Everything comes from the Lord, right? And in the spiritual world, everything is pure. Everything is good. But when it comes, the same qualities, when they come into the material world, they become perverted in some sense, right? And therefore, the pure love becomes lust in the material world. Okay, friendly competitiveness to serve the Lord. Okay, for example, flowers like Malti, all right, the rose, etc. They are in competition to serve Krishna. But the moment they see Tulsi Maharani, they all go away. All right, that same competitiveness in the spiritual, when it comes into the material world, it becomes perverted, and therefore it becomes jealousy, etc. Because this is the material world. All right. So, yeah, that's one part of what we need to we are discussing, and the other part is, you brought up this example of Duryodhan. Towards the end of Duryodhan's life, when Krishna went to see him, Krishna was crying. The fact that Krishna is crying when he sees Duryodhan with a broken tie and dying tells you that the Lord is so compassionate, even to Duryodhan. Yesterday's or day before yesterday's Japa meditation was discussing this. So the point is, everything actually comes from the Lord. In this material world, it becomes perverted, right? And I agree, the source is always the Lord. In this material world, it's perverted. And despite us having those perverted qualities, the Lord is still waiting as a father. The father or the mother, whatever can go wrong, but the mother and father very seldom will disown the child, right? So that's the second part. Now comes to the third part. How do you relate with these people, right? It's difficult. Asija Mataji, sometimes even in our own family, it's very hard to deal, but we just need to be compassionate towards them. And, while being compassionate, you must also draw the boundary, Mataji. You need to draw the boundary and know where we can become closer to these people and where we should keep our distance. Because the closer we are with these people, they will drag us. Our compassion is to uplift them, but at the same time, we need to be strong enough also, right? Because material nature is so strong. While they are at a certain stage, they can also drag us down. All you need to do is to be next to, in the company of 4 people who drink, and you will be the 5th person who is drinking. All you need to do is to be in the company of 4 people who smoke or indulge in anything, and I can become the 5th person, right? So, sorry to be convoluted, but we still need to keep a distance from them. We can pray for them that they get uplifted, etc. Give them some prasad. That's very helpful. Yeah. It's a difficult topic, but yeah.
Like, because in the example of drinking, it's quite easy, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it's more the subtler things which I find very difficult, that you are at one point judging the person while you're assessing them, right? And then while you're judging, then the second part is if you have a compassionate way of thinking, then you immediately think you want to associate and help them out from that situation.
Okay. This is where the meaning of compassion is sometimes seen wrongly. The meaning of compassion is, this person is behaving in this manner, and I'm compassionate because I acknowledge this person. I'm not judgmental on this person because I know that behind this behavior there is a big why. Why is this person behaving in this way? Could it be the material nature which he came into this world with, his upbringing, the people he's associating with, etc.? That is where the compassion should be, in knowing why people are behaving in a certain manner. But the compassion is not in hugging those people and 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 somehow allowing them to feel that this is okay. So the meaning of compassion is a little bit different, where I'm not judgmental, but I'm also appreciative that God is very kind to me. I did not have to go through this which these people have gone through, and therefore they are behaving in this manner. Maybe my parents have brought me up in a different way, or my school has brought me up in a different way. I see things differently. I told everybody, right? Like, I was once challenged by my daughter. She had gone to, as part of her, I don't know, Red Cross or whatever. And then, I gave her a $20 note. And then on a Saturday, she came back in the evening and she told me I gave the money to a busker. And I was like, so why? Because I had a different mindset from her, right? And therefore, my compassion was in understanding that her upbringing is maybe because of the school, etc. And for her, the compassion is also on me to understand that maybe I was brought up through all this frugality. That's the meaning of compassion. Okay, Hare Krishna. I really have to go. I don't want to miss my flight. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki
Jai.
Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you very much for all your questions.
Thank you.
I'll post this video over. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Dorothy, Kishan Prabhu, Mataji, Madhu, Bhagwanji, Hare Krishna, Shalini Mataji, Hare Krishna, Priyanka Mataji, Hare Krishna, Shefali, Hare Krishna, Manoj Prabhu, Hare Krishna, Ravinda Prabhu, Hare Krishna,
Hare
and
Krishna, Prabhu.
Rasika Mataji, Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Prabhu, I left
Krishna,
a chat
Have
actually
a
there.
safe flight.
Sorry?
Have a safe flight.
Oh, okay. Thank you. And don't
Prabhu,
forget, this
sorry,
Friday
Sai
is
Krishna, Prabhu.
just a minute.
Sorry.
Friday is God Purnima.
Well, yeah, correct. I left a question there, but then you're going on your flight, so it's okay.
No,
On
it's
the
okay.
chat.
Let me see, and then maybe I'll try to type to you.
Somewhat related to the.
Okay, I've been asked many times, how does a Vaishnava fix herself also the Bhakti? Okay, Prabhu, I'll just copy this and then let me meditate on this.
No problem, Prabhu. No
All
problem.
right. Hare Krishna.
Have a safe flight, Prabhu.
Thank you. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Have a safe life.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, safe flight, Prabhuji.
Hari Bol.
We will.
Okay.